Welcome everybody to I, the Serpent Tarot, for another pick a card. So today I'm delighted to say it's another collaboration. I really enjoy doing these, and the interesting story of this collaboration is that this is with Malavika from Malasverse. The details for her video, as I do with all collaborations, are in the description box below, so that'll take you to her video and to her channel. She's multi-talented. She has done many different sort of modalities in spiritual learning and spiritual practice. Fascinating person, and she's one of the first people I actually met in this YouTube journey. She reached out to me via Twitter and we connected and we've become really great friends, and it's been really lovely to talk with her about life, the universe and everything, really. So we talk about spiritual practices, spiritual ideas. We also talk about spiritual businesses, like all of the thing, the whole gamut, and it's wonderful. And we did actually talk a long time ago. She was, in fact, the first person I talked to about the concept of doing a collaboration, but for various reasons the timing didn't align, but now it has. I'm really delighted to say. So this idea for this collaboration concept came from a conversation we were having. We were talking about the collective unconscious. We were talking about, in different spiritual practice, different spiritual gifts and all of those sorts of things. You know, there is maybe some people that are very kind of tuned into the collective unconscious, and others that might be very much prime actors within the world, and they impact the collective unconscious because we all do both. We are both receivers of information at a subtle and sometimes not so subtle level from the collective unconscious, and we are also part of the collective unconscious. So the actions that we do in our day-to-day lives, in our spiritual practice, all have a energetic ripple effect into the collective unconscious too, and become part of almost the data bank of all spiritual knowledge, experience and so forth that energy field represents. So why not have a look at both what we are picking up from the collective unconscious and also what are we contributing to it. So Malavika is doing the side of it, looking at what are you receiving from the collective unconscious at the moment, in what way, and how to use that best for your highest good and for your either day-to-day or spiritual progress, whatever it is that you're trying to sort of gather that kind of wisdom for. And I'm looking at the other side of it. It's in your day-to-day life and in your spiritual practice, what are you contributing to the collective unconscious? What is your piece of the sort of grand metaphysical soup, and how is that important? And how do you make sure that's the best offering, the most sacred offering that you can give in everything that you do? So those are the two sides of the coin. I think it's going to be quite a challenge to actually look at this. It's a really interesting idea because it is marrying what we do, but also very high spiritual practices. So I'm really excited about doing it. So as always, I'm using 3 decks. I'm only using 1 tarot deck, but using 3 piles is what I mean. And I've chosen certain oracles to give me a first idea about the nature of your contribution to the collective, both on a day-to-day and also on a spiritual level. Then we'll look into that in more detail with tarot and some other oracles. But to help with the choice, I shuffled and asked Spirit to give me a card from the Life Soul Vision Oracle deck that shows something about what you offer to the collective. There's other cards from that deck that look at how that is on the material level and on the spiritual level, and some other oracles to give us a sense of how that all comes together. I don't know what they are. They were shuffled intuitively and laid face down. But this is to help you with the choice. So for pile number 1, we have card 52. If you're someone who goes by numbers on any level, this says spirals of love and grief. So this would suggest to me, because this is a positive thing, this is what you are positively bringing, that the capacity to deal with strong emotion has got something to do with what you contribute. But there'll be more, but that may help draw you. Pile 2 has Queen of Earth, so nature's blessing, very material, very grounded, very loyal, all those sort of energies. And pile 3 has Spirit Lion, which is spiritual strength, so bringing a lot of strength to people, the collective, and that kind of thing. So as I say, this is what you're contributing into the collective rather than, what's coming out of that in your day-to-day life. But we will look at the day-to-day life as to how that is exemplifying what you contribute. But if you feel drawn to that, so that has card number 3, that's card number 20. Again, if there's particular numbers that draw you, whatever works for you, and by all means go to more than one reading if you like. There may be more than one way that you're contributing to the collective that are picked up in these readings. So you do you. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I've got the timestamps as always in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, Part 1, to your reading. So, as I said in the introduction, you've come to the one with spirals of love and grief. This suggests to me that you have a very finely tuned sense of both the connections of love and also the grief of the separation and how they move through energetically. It could be that either in a career or in what you do in your spiritual practice, you actually help people deal with that. That's what I feel is coming from this. But you are able to be in both those states and understand them as a moving, developing energy. Like you can almost be neutral in that, experience it and let that flow through you. So there's something in your capacity to deal with both the glory of love and also the sort of sadness of grief, and how they're kind of connected. That is this part of what you give to the collective. I think you give an emotional resonance to the collective. I think you give an emotional courage to the collective. So what we've got here, over here is how this is playing out in your day-to-day. Over here is how it's your spiritual practice. And this is the collective energy that sort of marries the two. So here in your day-to-day, what I find it really interesting, actually, what I want to say firstly is that I feel like this is something that many of you should do for a career or a vocation in some way. Now, whether that's literally that you do it dealing with sort of grief counselling or emotional trauma counselling or relationship counselling, or whether it's just being able to take this enormous bravery to deal with everything and process it through in some way in your career. The reason I'm saying that is I feel it's connected to your spiritual practice. So I feel like with the 10th house over here on the side of the spiritual practice, this says to me that there's something very material and very grounded about your spiritual practice and how you use it. I think that many of you who've come to this reading could do spiritual businesses in some way. Now, you don't have to, but if you don't, it inculcates what you do in your business world. It's your spiritual practice is also very much connected to how you behave within the material world. So they're very closely aligned. Now, going back to the day-to-day, we have the guide and the gift. So this also makes me feel that what you offer a gift in your day-to-day life in some way, with friendships, with colleagues, with family. You can be a guide in this energy because you are very attuned to all of it. You're able to deal with it. This is not to say that when you feel grief, you don't feel the grief. In fact, you do. You feel it fully. You're not afraid of it. You let it flow through you. You let yourself feel it. You're quite a high pitch emotional energy for you, but it's a very powerful and brave one. And in fact, some people who are not as brave to deal with this, you may find push back and they go, you're too emotional or something like that. But that's not what's going on here. You're actually able to live into that. And that energy, that free flowing energy that's non-judgmental about that. It is, you feel what you feel, goes into the collective. You're offering that into the collective. And on a day-to-day level, it's done by guiding people, offering this gift of being able to be present in the moment around emotion. It's a really powerful and beautiful energy. I think for many of you, you do this particularly, it's probably something you do more and more as you age with Saturn return. But with the Saturn return, it comes a number of times in your life. The first time it's around about 28 to 30, then around about 58 to 60. It's very broad because Saturn sort of has not an exact sort of path. That's why it can be a bit faster and a bit slower at certain times. But it's in those sort of times. And then if you live to your 90s, then between about 88 and 90. And each of them mark a level of maturity. So I think that this is saying not so much, but though I do think it's something you'll do more and more as you age. It's going to be something that you grow into. But I also think you brought it in karmically, like you were probably a very wise soul from when you were very young. So you've had a maturity that others haven't had, and almost might have seemed to go through your Saturn return early in your 20s rather than later, in the sense of the energy of what you represented. So I think you're a little bit ahead of the curve because you're not afraid. So I feel that there's something in this, but I think it's also you help other people mature. So, and this is on a day-to-day level. There's something that you do, and as I say, it could be around your friendship and so forth, but it's like you would be the person that people went to for wise counsel. You're probably the friend in the friend group that people go to when they really want clarity, that kind of energy. But the interesting thing is they're not looking for intellectual clarity. This is not to say that you don't have a good intellectual take on all of this. They're looking for someone who can be really present, who can, as they say, hold space, and who can feel with and be highly empathic. So in your day-to-day life, you just do this as a natural thing. You're just a natural guide. And whatever you do around career or anything like that will, as I say, somehow involve this energy because it's over here as well too. So when we're looking at in your spiritual practice, we have third eye energy, awakened vision. You're probably highly telepathic. So this is the thing I'm saying, like your mind is there or the soul intellect is there in a way, the kind of mercurial energy that is telepathy is there. So you probably almost through the work that you do spiritually have an almost preternatural understanding about what's going on with people. You may even know quite often before they contact you that they're going to contact you. You feel it like a disturbance in the force or something, that kind of idea. You're very much around that, the connection to others, highly connected to the collective unconscious. I think it would be very interesting, given that this has come up, for you to definitely see Malavika's reading because you're really dialed into that. But what interests me in this energy is that you're also dialed into your own authenticity. So you don't get lost in it. Like you're able to tell. Some people who are highly empathic will almost get overwhelmed by it and not know what their own emotions are. If they're highly telepathic, they won't know what their thoughts are. The balance of the two here to me tells me that you do differentiate, you do know. You know what is yours and what isn't yours. This is part of the maturity, which then it becomes something that is part of who you are in the world, how you're seen in the world. I just think most of you should be seen for this in some way, whether it's through a spiritual business or through some other business. And the way this connects is you're taking people on a journey. You're inviting them to go within, like you look at this image and it's the spirals, but it looks to me almost like light going into a cave. That's what it looks like to me. I think you invite the collective, unconscious to experience directly all that is emotionally resonant with a clarity that allows people to align it to who they are spiritually in the world, and with a maturity to be able to do it without fear. So it's very interesting, but it's a journey. It's a pilgrimage. It's a sacred thing to you. I feel this is sacred overall. I think that we're going to find with all of these that there's something sacred about what one offers to the collective. But I think for you, there is a real conscious understanding of that and a conscious understanding of the responsibility that comes with it. So it's really interesting energy. So let's have a look with tarot. Firstly, at a little bit more of the firstly with the 3D activity, so like a little bit more around this, being the guide, helping people mature, helping people understand, being the wise counsel. Then we're going to have a look a little bit more about what's going on over here using the sort of telepathy, the acuity of mind, the connection, in some way that's going to have you known in the world. I think it's interesting. And then we'll see how they combine through the pilgrimage. Then we're going to ask, what does the collective do in response? There's a little bit of a hint as what you're going to get from Malavika's reading. So firstly, just a little bit more. And we're using the Dream Visions Tarot because I felt it's a very collective unconscious sort of tarot. A little bit more about this side of it, you being the guide for others, the wise counsel, the mature person to talk with, the one who has the strength to be able to help people through really, really powerful emotional times, both positive and challenging. So the Six of Wands reversed, the Moon reversed, the Knight of Wands reversed, the Seven of Cups, the Ace of Pentacles reversed. Okay, so on a day-to-day level, I think this is saying that most of you, at this point that you've come to this reading, have not necessarily thought about how you might use this as a career, or you're just starting to and the full potential of it isn't there. But I do suggest that this ability, as I say, whether it's directly as a spiritual or a kind of counselling type role, is worth considering, or how you use this ability in your work, because there's an untapped potential materially at the moment around this. This is saying there are so many opportunities, and in fact it may well be that one of the reasons why it is because you feel things so fully. You're so open with the pilgrimage energy. You're so open to all opportunities that it might actually sometimes be hard to work out, where do I focus? This is where your spiritual practice helps. It almost feels to me, and I think we'll see it with the tarot, that there are two ways that this activates. One is, I think people come to you. They come to you with the Six of Wands reversed because they're feeling they're not seen and they want to be seen. The Moon reversed, they know that there's something they need to uncover and they've been a bit frightened to move forward. So this is the energy of people coming to you for the guidance. That's one way that it happens. And the other way is that you just experience the emotion yourself. And in that case, it's almost telepathic, as I say. It's sort of like even before they come. So I think that this is probably tilting a little bit towards, and this is why we have the 10th house also here in the spiritual practice, that there is something about your telepathy, your connection on that kind of level to give you a clarity as well too, because you feel things so deeply and you will be drawn into that energy with them. But to know what to do with it for yourself, it's very selfless energy. So it's how do you actually turn that into something, and then your practice, I think, creates something that helps people even more. So it's within itself, it's a spiral. So I think this is saying that you will on a day-to-day level draw people to you who have felt lost, unseen, unheard, who want to bring this stuff up to the surface because they see you as a safe, wise counsel. And this would give you all sorts of opportunities for how to deal with this, and some wonderful opportunities. But by and large, you haven't fully realised that. You might have started a business, and this would just be saying there's so much more. But the key is somehow in this, your spiritual practice and what you're kind of getting almost on a telepathic level. And it may not even be from the same people who are coming to you. It might be from the collective unconscious. Very important to look at Malavika's reading, because I think that it could be saying that what you receive from the collective telepathically, it's not just what you give to the collective telepathically from having this sort of emotional resonance, but it's also what you receive that helps you make that decision, which then in turn gives back to the collective because you do more with it in your material life. I think you're meant to do something in your material life with this. So let's see a little bit more then about the spiritual side of it, like what is involved in that, in what you're giving spiritually. Because I think it's picking up the receiver side of it as well spiritually in this particular layout. So what your spiritual practice is giving. Page of Swords reversed, 9 of Pentacles reversed, 5 of Pentacles reversed, 8 of Swords reversed. Okay. The Tower. Okay. All right. So this is actually giving a very clear difference that's going on here. So what this is saying, apart from there is all the stuff that I've said about maybe doing this as a business, and I definitely think that many of you should think about that in one form or another. But what this is saying is that this side of it on a day-to-day level, the way that you give to the collective is when people come to you who need to be seen. And your emotional depth does that for them. You sit in the presence of that. You give them some wise counsel. And it may be saying that unless you're particularly drawn to something like relationship counselling or spiritual counselling or something like that, that's not necessarily something that you have to turn into a business. You could always do it if you wanted to, but you don't have to. But what you're giving to the collective on a spiritual level, your spiritual practice, which has a very material outcome, is a clarity. So this is very emotional on a day-to-day level, but this is the clarity. After going through the emotion, this is the clarity. That's what I think we're getting with the third eye here. Because the collective, what you're doing is you're finding the places where old order things have to sort of break down to let new energy in and to connect people more, to liberate people from anything that kept them in an emotional soup rather than in emotional clarity. So it's as though what you're doing in your day-to-day life is sitting in presence with people, giving them that emotional support, giving them the strength that they need. But what you are giving spiritually in your practice in one way or another is a clarity from what you've almost learned from this for what is not working on the collective, anything that is a barrier to connection. And it is connection materially. So there is a real strong alignment here. It's like your spiritual practice is quite material in the sense that it's not just I'm going to sit on a cushion and think lovely thoughts. You actually want to see the results of this. You want to see. Part of this guidance about helping people through emotion is to get them to be able to connect more. And on a kind of spiritual sense, what you're trying to bring into the world and manifest in the world is the clarity to do that. And I think the kindness to do that, interestingly enough, it's breaking through where that doesn't exist. It's breaking out of any kind of communication energies that have stood in the way of connection, material connection. But it's a big thing you're doing here. So it's like on a spiritual level, you think very big picture about the whole collective, but on a day-to-day level, it's very much with individuals and walking the talk. So interesting. So then let's see, how do they connect through this pilgrimage? Like how do these two things connect in the journey that you're going on? What you're giving to the collective, pile 1. Judgment, the Devil reversed, the Nine of Cups. Wow. The journey is freedom. Like the Devil reversed is fallen just where the pilgrimage is. Freedom from that which, all the things the devil represents, the kind of like the more obsessive or the darker or the more addictive kind of energies and so forth. Bringing the clarity, judgment, following the calling, helping people follow their calling, and how that calling affects the collective overall to bring joy. Ultimately, what you're about here is joy. But it's like how you are helping people emotionally stabilize and be seen so that they can take material actions that liberate the whole collective as well as themselves from anything that had tied them back, to know what their calling is and to find their joy. So it's powerful. Like I think this is really a strong urging from Spirit that you do something with this if you aren't already. And some of you aren't yet doing that. You've got all this ability, but it's sort of like maybe your friends benefit from it. And anything you do in that space will help the collective, there's no doubt. But I feel like this is a bigger canvas that you're supposed to be working on, pile one. Okay, so then we want to sort of see what could be sort of dream imagery or sort of oracular imagery, that kind of thing that can help you know what's sort of happening, that you're responding. So it's how will the collective sort of respond to this? So we're going to start with the overall energy. We're going to then look at day to day, and we're going to look at your spiritual practice as well. So this is signs, symbols, energies that might tell you that the collective is really responding well and working with you on what you are giving to the collective, that there's a kind of a demonstrable shift in the collective energy because of what you're offering. So firstly, around this dealing with love and grief. Naked dreams. Do you have dreams where you're naked? So this is the openness. I think what this is saying is that the more open you are, and you are very open about this is your strength. You're not pretending things are okay when they're not. You're not denying love when it's there. You're very open about it and prepared to be vulnerable. And in that vulnerability, you have huge strength. What is happening is that you'll have this sense. If you dream about being naked, if you have that sense of being open, or even if you feel from the collective that there's an opening towards the energy that you're sending, a vulnerability, that the collective is merging with you in a vulnerable state that is actually very strong, that you will know that this is starting to work. And there'll be times already that's happening. So it's when that sort of happens, it's a very strong message to you. So don't worry too much if you have dreams about being naked. It's probably actually for you a really powerful sign that you're connecting with the collective. Then a sign around your day-to-day energy. Magic. Okay, so you work magic, you feel magic, you can see the outcomes of things, you help people find their calling, you help people manifest. So there is a manifestation. This is why it's important, all this sort of like 10th house, the pentacles. You've got to see it. It's like, I think for you to know that the collective is actually benefiting from this, what you're doing on a day-to-day level, you see it through things that seem miraculous, things that seem to be materially coming into being, what you manifest. And then on the spiritual practice, where I think the canvas gets very big for you, the way that you would know that your clarity is helping the collective. School, exams. Okay, dreams about school and exams. There is something of a calling about this for you. You're here for a reason, pile one. Like you do have a maturity and so forth, but it is also for you just being able to be present and take this to the next level. This is a life where you're taking this to the next level. So you may sometimes feel like, oh my goodness, am I up to this? Am I able to do it? So if you're having those dreams about that, it's a sign that there's a clarity that you are bringing. So you consciously bring that clarity to the collective, and you could do that through meditation. You could do it through dream interpretation when you look at the dreams. But there's a sense here that you are vulnerable enough to explore this in yourself and others. Therefore, you give that energy to the collective. But we're all humans. So on a day-to-day level, you need to see the outcome of this to know that you're on the right track. And if you feel that you're taking it to the next level, you need to feel that you're ready. So I think this is all about being ready to take it to the next level, because I think that's what you're meant to do in this life. Okay. So let's get you a couple of guides. Let's get you a divine feminine and a divine masculine guide to help you with this. So starting with the divine feminine first. Mart, justice. Okay, I'm just going to get the masculine as well too and then talk about this. It's interesting. There's something about the material world and the powers of the world for you. And Hades, death. Okay, all right. So one of the things, when you are able to be in the true emotional extremes, which is what you can do, it may sometimes feel like being in the underworld. And on a spiritual level, you may feel that you go there, or you may see that in dreams, in journeying shamanically, or in, like meditation, that kind of thing. So there is a real death and rebirth thing. This is a spiral. Things go through their circles, things go through their time. So your clarity about how this impacts, I think, the material things of the world. You have a really powerful transformative energy here with Hades to help you. Like, you are meant to shift something. You are meant to shift or change or end something material to bring in something better. So that's the tower energy as well. There's something that you're meant, and it's your spiritual practice does this. It's like that looks after that. So that on a daily level, it's more about just bringing balance, clarity, being seen. Like, sometimes people, if they just want to be seen or heard, they're looking for justice because maybe they haven't felt it. So it seems to be saying to me that your power of emotion is in itself an elixir for this, and just doing that within your spiritual practice, always being open to what you can see and give to the collective spiritually that helps transform and move past outdated energy is a focus for that. But on a day-to-day level, just helping people to be seen, to be heard, to give them a sense of justice, all of that kind of thing, that energy is going to help you, because they are helping each other. It's all about the journey for the individual, the journey for the world. But there's something here where it's more the practice that you do. Like, I feel like for some of you, it is in meditation or in journeying or something that you actually affect change because of your clarity and your connection to the collective unconscious. So you're giving a change energy and a release energy and an escaping the devil type energy. But over here, it manifests in bringing things into balance, into justice, into clarity for individuals. And so for those who don't want to do it as a business, fine, but I just feel that there's also a business element to this for many of you. Okay, so let's get you some stars to guide you, because it's pretty powerful stuff here, pile one. Mutable, being flexible. And this is the thing, love and grief. Things go in spirals, things move. Your flexibility is part of your strength. You are able to be vulnerable. You are able to be flexible. You're not rigid. You're open, genuinely open to what other people are experiencing, genuinely open, and you send that energy into the collective unconscious to kind of get past judgmental energy. We have Jupiter, meant to bring joy. You're meant to bring joy in the Nine of Cups. Expansion, all of those things. And Scorpio, you go deep. What a surprise Scorpio would turn up there with Hades. Like, there is such a depth to this, and Scorpio feels things incredibly strongly, incredibly intensely. So that makes sense. That intensity is meant to expand and bring joy and bring a flexibility, because there's a kind of a sense in you that you understand yourself, and as a result of that, you can understand the collective. Often what brings about rigidity and issues spiritually and in day-to-day life is a lack of self-awareness and a lot of projection. You're not really doing that. And that's why people are coming to you. But there's a bigger purpose for the energy that you're putting in there. So to finish off, we just want to look at the magic that you bring as a result of this. So the magic of all of that coming together for you. Guide. Yeah, you're meant to be a guide. I mean, it could also say that you have a very powerful guide that's helping you as well. But I think you're meant to be a guide. This is why I'm saying it just feels like you're meant to do something with this in terms of your vocation. And that doesn't have to be a career, but a vocation as well as anything else. But it is also possible that just in your spiritual practice, you're energetically sending energy in around that. And then on a day-to-day, you're just walking the talk, and that's fine. But whether you want to be or not, you're going to be a guide for others, and you are in your own way a guide energy for the collective. So really powerful. I hope that resonates for you. I definitely think for you, because there's such a strong feeling here that you pick up stuff from the collective. I mean, I think everybody should go and see Malavika's readings, but I think this group you really should, because you are a radio receiver as well as sending it in, and that will help you get a clarity on how to focus the guidance. Because the one thing that you've got at the moment to deal with is that you don't fully yet know what you want to do with it materially. So that may help you. But beyond that, I hope that you like the video. I hope you like the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Queen of Earth as a sort of distillation of what you offer to the collective. And as I said, in nature's blessing, this is all the elements of the earth. It's very much like the Queen of Pentacles in the tarot. So a sense of commitment, loyalty, stick-attedness, material outcomes, material warmth. I often think the Queen of Earth makes me think of Demeter too, from Greek mythology. So sort of like understanding the seasons and of the beauty of the environment and all of that kind of thing. So there is something that you give to the collective which honors all of that. Something material, something natural, something environmental, something about commitment, loyalty, all of those sort of energies. So there is a sense that you're here. I feel like you're a group that are here in the earth for a reason, and you're dedicated to that reason. So you may well have other origins, starseed or whatever, if you feel that, but right now you're here for a reason and you are dedicated to that, and what you offer to the collective honors that. Now, the way that this is built is that this side is how this is manifesting, what you're offering to the collective in your day-to-day activities, whether it's work or just how you interact with others. And this is how your spiritual practice offers something to the collective. And this is the kind of pathway or the guiding star between the two. Now, it's very interesting. We've got the Divine Feminine there and we've got the Queen of Earth. So there's something about all of this where the Divine Feminine is very strong. We are later on going to look at a Divine Feminine energy that supports you as well as a Divine Masculine. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Divine Feminine is. But there's something about creation and all the things that we associate with the Divine Feminine, which is very key right now to how you work with the collective. Now, you don't have to be a woman or identify as a woman. It's not necessary. It's not about gender so much as the energies of creativity, warmth, nurturing. So there's a very strong element of that, of nurturing others, which makes it very interesting how it's actually playing out, because you'd almost expect to see sort of like family and sort of health-oriented careers and all that kind of thing. But it's actually, you do it in a very different way. You explore this in a very different way. And that is firstly shown over here with casting out constellations. This is the way, this is the work. And Aries, I am. Many of you, there's something very divinatory about you. There's an understanding of the seasons, the stars. Like there's something that you do and it contributes to the collective, which is about understanding the cycles of things, the timing of things, maybe the personality of things, because the star signs often represent that. And having a real clarity of where you sit within that bigger wheel of the universe and wheel of the collective, who you are. And I think you can identify that very strongly. It may well be that on a day-to-day level you're very ambitious and you follow the stars or understand that you work with your strengths and your weaknesses to bring something about. So you represent to the collective the energy of self-actualization. And like the Queen of Fire is probably the most, like the Queen of Wands is the most self-actualized, but the Queen of Pentacles is pretty close in a different way. It's not as showy. So this is an energy of the fire energy and also grounding that energy. But I feel as though on a day-to-day level, you and your ambition and what you do and your actions represent an understanding of where you fit in the earth. And therefore it becomes to the collective an example of how to align your activity to what your true presence and true purpose is. And for you, there's something that is about nurturing, creativity, that kind of thing. You could have a very creative career potentially. Or you could be an astrologer or something like that. That would definitely work for this as well, to understanding who you are and then letting the collective understand that this is a map of who we are. I think that's the thing about astrology. Your astrology chart shows you a map of your energy and how that's going to manifest in this particular world, in this particular life, how it interacts with the zeitgeist of the time, with the other energies that are there, all of that kind of thing. So there's a clarity of understanding who you are, which is something that is a strength of yours and offers to the collective, this is how you're unique, and so this is how every other energy within the collective can be unique. But in your day-to-day life, actions that really define that and ground them materially, I would say, very much show this, is very much part of what you offer to the collective. Interestingly, on your spiritual practice, this is very grounded. Spiritually, you explore something completely different. Because over here we have detours from the divine. It's almost as though you know and you live within the bounds of who you are very clearly in your life. And that's what you offer to the collective, that really true strong self-awareness and the manifestation of that. But spiritually, you want to explore all the other options. Many of you could be very explorative spiritually in general. Some of you may, with detours from the divine, you might follow the left-hand path. Don't have to. I'm just sort of saying different things. You could be very explorative of different sort of spiritual backgrounds. You might, to be truly who you are, you might actually amalgamate a number and find what works for you. But this is about change. You're an agent of change. So oddly enough, it almost feels like it's a very circuitous way in the collective to go back to the divine, but it is to expand the divine in some way. Like if you think of like the divine feminine's creativity, a womb, it's like on a spiritual level with your spiritual practice, because you explore many alternatives. You're not closed-minded to anything, and you're open to changing and being flexible with that. You expand, you let it grow. You're helping the collective grow by being inclusive, I guess would be what I would say. And you kind of have to really know who you are on a day-to-day level to do that, because otherwise it would get very confusing, but you're very, very grounded. But it's all about growth. You're all about growth for the collective. So that's interesting. So let's have a look. We're going to firstly look at a little bit more about what you offer the collective with your day-to-day activities. Then we're going to have a look at what you offer with your spiritual approach. Then we'll see how they all come together around this divine feminine energy. Now, I have thought within the structure of this to also look at then a little bit about what the collective says to you as a sort of teaser for what Malavika's reading is. But I realised that in part one I didn't do that because it was very clear. By the time I got to that, it was very clear. So I'll either do that or not do that depending upon whether I think the clarity is there. But either way, I strongly suggest you then go and get more information about this if you haven't already from Malavika's. So let's have a look a little bit more about how your day-to-day activities, your really strong sense and understanding of yourself, really strong self-awareness is impacting and offering to the collective. High Priestess reversed, Eight of Cups reversed, Seven of Wands reversed, Queen of Swords reversed. Okay, I think I see what this is saying. Ten of Cups. All right. You want other people to have realised what you've realised. And this is what in one way or another, you do this on a day-to-day level. You either do it just by the sheer strength of your presence because you really know who you are and you take no prisoners and you make no apologies, or whether it's that you teach people this in some way, you talk to people around it, you help your friends, whatever it might be. You want to be able to show people that the pathway to joy is to stop being so critical of thinking I should be something else or I'm not enough, because that keeps people trapped in emotional patterns that aren't useful for them anymore. You want them to kind of get real and understand all of it's there. It's like in their natal chart astrologically, or it's in understanding who they are. We are what we are. We need to be able to be less judgmental about that. We need to then work both from our strengths and our weaknesses. You know, if you can understand both those things, you move forward, really know who you are, and you do the most positive thing you can do. You've learnt this somehow. Now, I actually wonder whether for some of you I'm getting maybe you came into a life where you didn't have a primary nurturing person. Like some of you may have come from a broken family, or you might have had a very distant nurturing parent or something. Or alternatively, you had the exact opposite. You had an incredibly strong role model in your nurturing, whether it's your mother or whoever is the most nurturing, that gave that real sense that growth and potential is there and was very accepting. So you've either had a very unconditional background or the exact opposite. Because it's one of those sort of weird things that it's at either end of the extreme that creates this sort of clarity. You either become very clear because you haven't had it, you had to do it for yourself and understand it for yourself, and you want to show other people that, or you had it and that gives you that sense of purpose that allows you to not be feeling competition with others. You're not, like Aries is very, I'm getting on with it, I'm first, but this doesn't feel like I'm first amongst everybody, like I win. It's more first amongst equals. I think your degree of self-knowledge and grounding energy is you want to use it in some way to get people to stop thinking the mystery is other people's opinions. and therefore hobbling themselves, to let go of that so that they go towards what is joyous for them, because it's a bit like that whole concept of follow your bliss. If you're doing that, it's following what's really key to you. So you offer to the collective a sense of liberation from unnecessary critique, so that people can, so that the collective and individuals that on a day-to-day level can follow what they really truly want, what would truly make them happy. So let's see. So that's all about knowing yourself and moving forward. And in a way, there is a similar energy here, because this is knowing yourself, moving forward, being the unique you, and offering to the collective that is the most liberating thing for everybody in the collective. So it kind of makes sense then spiritually that there would be almost a bit of the iconoclast, a little bit of the explorer, a little bit of the person who brings lots of things together as well. But let's just see how your spiritual practice and its flexibility and its explorative thing also offers something to the collective. Knight of Wands reversed, Five of Pentacles reversed, the Devil reversed. Oh, there's some interesting corollaries to another reading here. Six of Wands reversed. Some of you may have come to two readings. Page of Swords reversed. Okay, all right. So all of that's reversed. That's not bad. With me, I read reversals more as suppressed energy or something that could be brought to the surface. I think that's the thing. I think you explore spiritually because you feel like there is so much more that needs to be known and understood. So the Devil reversed, you don't want to be trapped in belief structures or actions that are not accurate. Six of Wands reversed. If you aren't able to explore everything, you're not giving the recognition to all the different pathways that are possible. Page of Swords, have you been told or taught something that's not accurate? Five of Pentacles, how much is one trapped in that by needing to be with others? Knight of Wands, how much is one not doing the creative energy if you don't explore? This is a rebel energy. You are a rebel spiritually. And that is a true offering, because you know who you are, you're accepting of others. So this is not about competition. This is about stopping limitations so true growth can occur. So the very fact that you are eclectic, Catholic in your tastes, and Catholic means in that sense broad taste, not Catholic as in Catholicism, though by all means if you're a Catholic that's fine, but I think if you were, you'd still be looking at other spiritual disciplines, because there's a breadth to this. It's a rebel. You're a rebel. But you're a very grounded rebel, and you're a rebel towards growth. You're not a rebel because you've got a chip on your shoulder. You're not a rebel because you just want to be the best at everything and damn everything else. You're a rebel because you want to explore and grow. You want the collective to grow, you want the spiritual energy to grow, and you want your contribution in it to grow as well. So you're all about, I'm not going to be held back by things that are not legitimate. That's the energy that you give to the collective. So let's see how that connects with this divine feminine, because it almost feels divine masculine, all of this, in the way that we think of it. But it's a very divine feminine, so it's all about how we nurture and grow. So let's see how those come together. The World reversed, Nine of Wands, Queen of Cups reversed. Okay, I think that many of you, both in maybe some of the spiritual traditions that you grew up in and you're now kind of exploring more, and also in your family or in your career, have been in it. Why I'm feeling this very divine masculine energy. Why this grounding energy is coming together, one of the things you're bringing to all of this that brings these two things together is understanding that the divine feminine and the emotional needs to be reclaimed. So you're looking in all the spiritual practices to find that. You know that at the moment we have a kind of incomplete balance in the collective. So, and we're not that far off it. It can be done, but that's your journey. It's to reclaim the divine feminine. So that's interesting. So because I don't think it's as clear here as it was in pile one, I am going to just pull two cards for a little bit about what the collective is saying to you. Because I felt in pile one it was saying very clearly how it was talking and so forth. But I do want to pull two cards for that. And this is a bit of a teaser for what Malavika will have in her reading for you. The Sun reversed. The Page of Pentacles reversed. Okay, so the collective wants you to give birth to whatever this new thing is. Now, you don't literally have to give birth, but it's just a metaphor with this sort of like divine feminine energy. It's saying that there is a new order, a new way of doing things materially in the world that brings this in, and it's agreeing with you that there is something more to be born, there is more expansion to happen. It hasn't happened yet. So what you are doing, you will be getting messages to help with that. And I think it points back to you becoming more and more clear in who you are as much as anything else. But certainly to the degree that there's exploration that you're doing, that you're offering that into the collective, it's what would you do with that? So I think that the collective unconscious wants you to take action, wants you to do something, to create something out of this. So that's interesting. So let's see how in the liminal space the language of the collective interacts with you, signs potentially that will tell you that you're on the right path. So I'm using a dream and oracle deck here for the sort of things that could tell you, firstly, that you are giving this very material thing. You are being a mother to the collective in some way. And it doesn't have to be, as I said, it's not about gender, but being a mother. Some of you, there might be a very important child, actually. Whether you don't have to be a mother either, you could be a father. There could be a very important child that's coming through to help with what you're doing and take this work forward. But beyond that, there's sort of like being a mother to the collective in a way. So what kind of energy or sign in dreams or visions or whatever might tell you that's really aligning well? Manifest, what you can manifest. It is all about manifestation. The proof is in the proof of the pudding is in the eating, as they say. This is like you can manifest things because you know clearly who you are. And as I say, you know your strengths and weaknesses. I always say that I think true manifestation is a combination of your strengths, knowing your weaknesses too so that you mitigate them, and situational awareness. This is knowing your strengths and weaknesses. This, by being exploratory and not having a closed mind, means you understand the situations that you're in. You have situational awareness. You will know that you're getting somewhere with actual things that manifest. So that you are giving this sense of individuality and strength to the collective, you will know that by weather, natural events. So this is meant to be a dream card. So if you have dreams where weather is happening, lots of power within weathers, I always think like lightning strikes is like downloads and information coming through. Rain can be clearing things. Very sunny days can be warmth, bringing that energy out. Pay attention to that sort of thing in dreams or meditations because there's a sense of the power of the weather. The weather is what it is. It is nothing other than what it is. So I think that is sort of saying that you get clearer and clearer on who you are. And then this explorative, push the boundaries sort of energy of putting that energy back into the collective, knowing that is working, it's taking focus. Okay, so this is oracular, I think this is saying the exploration is eventually to be able to focus where you put your energy. So this is meant to be an exploration which gives you some aha moments which you then focus to bring into material energy. That makes you more who you are, which then takes you on the next exploration, and then you focus. So there's a pattern here for what you do. There's a pattern in how you use this energy. Okay, so let's get you some deities. Like as I said, that we're going to get a divine feminine and a divine masculine. I think for you there's a very big energy around the divine feminine here, but many of you may be in rather divine masculine dominated environments. But let's have a look at a divine feminine and a divine masculine. It's for all of it. It's for both sides. Just divine feminine first. Persephone, cycles. It's all about timing, cycles, seasons, the seasons. And Persephone was able to go into the depths, and she knew who she was, and she knew the decision she made, like when she ate the pomegranate. There is a real sense of knowledge and a lack of fear about that, a lack of fear to go into the depths. And the divine masculine energy. Plus, as I said, Demeter, there's something about this. It's like your own connection, as I say, maybe with the nurturing person that either wasn't there, was somehow separated out from you in one way or another, or was there, was really there, but there's something in that, in helping the exploration for you. And the divine masculine energy, Vulcan, inventiveness. Yeah, this is the explorer too. And it's being inventive because, as I say, it's knowing who you are. If you know who you are, you bring the very unique thing, the inventive thing, the next thing, the new thing that you can manifest. Very powerful energy as well. So that you're in a powerful male-dominated kind of world or energy or whatever, but your inventiveness and your strength connected with your capacity to go to the depths and really understand yourself, those deities really help you take this forward. Okay, so let's also get you some stars to guide you. Venus, yeah, it's the divine feminine. It's love, it's caring, it's all those sorts of things. And love is going to be important in all of this. Maybe finding the right partner, if you may already have done that, or you may be going to. Then we have sextile. This is easier than it appears. You are a natural manifestor. It's easy because you know who you are. Like a lot of the time people sort of think, oh, you're just lucky, things just happen. But it's usually because the person knows themselves very well and they know how to use their strengths and they know how to mitigate their weaknesses. And the fifth house, yeah, love, romance, creativity, children, all of those sort of things are important to this. For some of you, it's going to very much manifest in family patterns, but I feel like really explorative and nurturing sort of family patterns. But beyond that, for some of you, this is really going to come into full focus through a love connection as well. Okay, so to finish off, we just want to look at what magic you are bringing in what you give to the collective. Protection. Yeah, the nurturing. And look, yeah, Demeter, there is something here. If you really know yourself, then number one, you are protected to be able to go into the depths, into the different environments, explore all the different ways. You're protected. You're protected, maybe from a very strong divine feminine guide, could be Persephone or could be Demeter. But either way, you bring protection as well too, because it's your showing the collective how being oneself, completely oneself, allows the exploration to be safe. It makes me think of, I'm a big Twin Peaks fan, and they talk about a thing called the Black Lodge in Twin Peaks, and they say that is in a sense, it's almost like crossing the abyss as a high magician or going into art in the Kabbalah. It's kind of when you go into really knowing yourself. And what they say in the series is that you have to, if you can go through the Black Lodge with perfect courage, like really knowing who you are and not getting frightened by who you are or what you see, then you get to the White Lodge, which is like the divine. You have a sense like that. You have a sense that you are able to do that. And you are protected while you do it. And as a result, you protect the collective to truly understand and expand into all that it could be. So very interesting energy. I hope you enjoyed it. I do hope you go and see Malavika's reading, because it'd be really interesting to see what the collective is sending to you now that will help you in this, because there's a bit of a mission around it, and you have a very special relationship with the collective, I think. So do go and see her reading if you haven't already. Beyond that, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Spirit Lion, Spiritual Strength. You might have come to it because a lion is a power or spirit animal for you potentially. You might have come because you like lions. There's actually something quite feline in relation to you, because we've got a panther and a lion, so there could be sort of something around that for you in terms of energies. But more generally, I think you're drawn to the concept here that there is a spiritual strength that you are giving to the collective, and a sense of sort of being a leader or a protector. Like the lion energy is very protective as well, very loyal. So I feel like overall there's an energy of bringing strength to the collective, building the strength of the collective. And then this side is showing how this is going on a day-to-day level, things that you do in the day-to-day that offer to the collective. And then this side is the spiritual practice and how that is offered to the collective. This is a kind of a joining of the two, like how the two join in some way and in the energy that you give to the collective. So as I say, we start with strength, and this is this sort of sense of protective stewardship, I think, that we have. Very interesting, therefore, to have a look at what is coming into the day-to-day. For a start, you have a destiny with Yod here. You are meant to do this. It's something that you are meant in your day-to-day life to offer to the collective, I would say. But I think you also, in some way, whether it's through a career, whether it's through friendship, whether it's through online sort of communication, whatever it might be, you open up to people an understanding of their destiny as well. And you give them a sense. So you give to the collective via probably talking to individuals that you know on a day-to-day level, the sense of what more there could be and how to align with and understand one's destiny. Because you've got portals of possibility. Like, I think you're very inventive. I think you're potentially, entrepreneurial. Like, I'm thinking about day-to-day stuff that connects with this. Entrepreneurial, setting up businesses, allowing people. You could be a patron of the arts, a patron of invention, a patron of technological development. a patron of spiritual development, any of those sort of things, but there's something about you and what you bring to the collective to align the destinies and to open up the opportunities for people. And whether you do it, as I say, as a job, or whether you just do it naturally with friends, colleagues, people you communicate with, you're all about, as I say, the entrepreneurial, the new, the innovative, the expansive. There is an expansive energy that you do on a day-to-day basis that brings that expansion into the collective as well. And then over here in your spiritual practice, we've got earth star energy, sacred ceremony. You have a very, very reverential energy towards your spiritual practice. You see the importance of it. This is stewardship. You don't do it just because, this is a kind of cool thing to do, or I just want to have a spiritual practice so I can manifest a red Maserati or something. You're not, but this is very sacred to you. So what you do, every practice that you do, and there is a lot around ritual practice, grounding the energy in your spiritual practice, leads you to a greater sense of connection to the collective and a greater sense of knowledge. And I think what is happening here is these two mediate within the collective, because we've got peacemaking. So I think that this is what you are here to do as a steward, as a spiritual steward for those that you're around and for the collective, is open up all the concepts of destiny and possibility, but ground it with a clarity about what can really be done when. Find a peace between that, between too much expansion, that in a sense doesn't then land or come where it needs to land, with a sense of practice, ritual, reverence that actually then brings a clarity about how to do it. It's like you're very good, like in a team, say using the stewardship or the manager thing, you would be the one who could understand and unleash the talents of a team, but you would give it a structure and an overall cause, so that you didn't end up with all these talented people in your team kind of fighting with each other about who was the most important or whatever. It's like you bring a peace energy by bringing a clarity to what is trying to be created. So into the collective, with whatever you do about expanding possibilities, you also bring as I said, a sense of stewardship to this. And there's something about the way you do your spiritual practice that really provides that gravitas. So this is like the charismatic entrepreneurial, this is the gravitas sort of energy. Very interesting. So let's get a little bit more information from Tarot. So I'm going to ask firstly a little bit more about how on a day-to-day level you are offering to the collective. And then we're going to ask about how in your spiritual practice you offer to the collective. Then we're going to see how it comes together in this balancing energy. And then we're going to see how this connects to what the collective's saying to you with a couple of cards as a kind of a teaser or a pointer towards Malavika's reading, or if you've already seen Malavika's reading, as a kind of a touchstone to what you've seen in that reading. So firstly, a little bit more about how on a day-to-day level in your 3D activity you are offering to the collective. 3 of Wands, 7 of Swords. This is the negotiator. 6 of Cups reversed, King of Cups, 2 of Swords reversed. Okay. So there's a process to this. It'll be interesting to see what we get when we look at the sacred ritual side of this. What you do is that you heal, firstly, anything from people's backgrounds where they felt lesser than, or that they couldn't do something. So you literally could do this in some sort of healing, coaching or mentoring type of role, or it's just something you do naturally. You have a very strong emotional acuity to where the past of people needs to be healed so they can become fully who they are, particularly emotionally. And what you are saying to people, or what you're almost saying to the collective, is there are many choices about activity, but you need to be able to understand and negotiate with and get past anything from your past that has limited you. And you don't have to do this too quickly. You don't have to do everything immediately. One step at a time. Destiny is found one step at a time. A portal is found one step at a time. So it's sort of like helping people clear out the energy that was not true, so they can find this and not feel like they get hampered and they're worried every time they make a decision. It's more about the journey than each decision, because you will naturally go towards your destiny if you just stop limiting yourself. This is the message in a sense you have for the collective and for those on a day-to-day level that you deal with. So you're a healing energy to release people to be able to have the courage to move forward. So then when we bring it into almost the ritualized side of things, having freed them from what was false, I feel like there's something in what you do in terms of ritual, spiritual practice that then grounds this, that helps be a navigation tool, but it's done through step-by-step practice rather than, making lots of decisions, just each step moving forward. So let's see the energy there of what you offer the collective for your spiritual approach. The Moon reversed, Nine of Pentacles reversed, Four of Swords reversed, Wheel of Fortune reversed, the Emperor reversed. Okay, don't worry about reversals. The reversals aren't a problem when I read. They're just sort of like kind of sometimes suppressed energy or things that need to be brought to the surface. This practice, the practice somehow breaks through this conditioning. This is what's going on. So it brings to the surface that which is true, the true destination, because we've got the Three of Wands there. So what you are doing in your practice brings to the surface the true destination. It takes you and those you connect with and the collective away from the concept that there is some particular outcome or particular timing that has to work. It takes it away from all those kind of rigid sort of like might is right type of energies towards something that's more like stewardship. And in doing this practice, it looks to me like this practice is either, if you do it, and you could do it as a solitary level to get that clarity, but I think many of you do this practice in some way with groups or with other people because it helps bring out for you also, because you're doing a lot for other people, but also for you how to get past the sort of patterns that limited you so that you bring to the surface and you articulate what is right. So it gives a framework. So I feel like this is sort of boundless and you're trying to get people to that boundless sense of confidence to be a bit like the Fool in the tarot and just be able to move forward. But on the other hand, you're giving in your stewardship for yourself and for the collective a set of practices. Like it feels like meditating each day. It feels like that saying, and I've said it a number of times, before enlightenment, chop wood, after enlightenment, chop wood, that kind of thing. It feels like there's a set of practices that helps bring the clarity because it's such a vast energy to start to kind of open up to what one's actual potential is as opposed to all the limitations that have been put on by the world and by other people. So you're trying to bring that out in people, but give them a safe space and give the collective a safe space for that sort of development. And your spiritual practice somehow supports that. So let's see how this comes together in peacemaking, because I do think some of this is also saying that it is very much defined towards a better way of leading, a better way of being a steward, and that may be coming out of the conflict and all the things that have happened before. This might be also why peacemaking is there, is helping people come to peace and the collective come to peace with illegitimate energy that has been directed at them so that they're free to move forward. But let's just see a little bit more about this peacemaking energy. Two of Pentacles reversed. Justice. Six of Swords reversed. Okay, so the peacemaking energy here is almost comprised of three things. The first is that there's more than one way of doing things, and that's okay. So you don't have to demonize, if you're showing other people, how to liberate themselves from unfair systems or unfair judgments, they don't have to demonize to do that. They just need to understand that everybody has their destiny, and within the collective, we all contribute something. There's more than one way to do it. The main thing is to try and be fair and to have that clarity, almost detached clarity. So part of this, your practice is not just to give a structure, but it's to give that detachment. So it really does feel very Buddhist or something like that, getting away from an attachment that gets in the way of the clarity of what we do. So understanding there's more than one way to do things, bringing things into balance and being okay with the Six of Swords reversed, that there isn't a set destination, that it's an exploration. That's what you're trying to do when you're finding your destiny. That's what the collective's trying to do together. It doesn't have to be a competition. It doesn't have to be one way over the other. It can be done in a balanced way and in a way where everybody's exploring together. So let's also see what energy the collective might be bringing to you. So I didn't actually do this in one of the other piles because it felt very clear and I literally didn't remember to do it, but I did do it in the other and I feel like doing it here. I think this is just a bit of a taste of what you will get in Malavika's reading, or you may already have seen in Malavika's reading. So it's a little bit about what the collective is signaling or bringing to you. so that you can have this offering to the collective. So we get the Six of Wands and the Hermit. Okay, the collective sees you as a spiritual guide. That you are recognized, you are known in the spiritual world, if that makes sense. I mean, to some degree we're all known, but there is a sort of a sense where you are known for this courage, for this capacity to do this, for the dedication to the right rituals and practices, that kind of the discipline of that. So I think that the collective wants to say to you, we see you, and we see that you are on the right path for yourself spiritually and more generally, and that many of you are a mystic or something like that with the Hermits. That's like, this is why it's working. This is why it can be both expanding into all possibilities, but also within a framework that works and with a discipline that works. Okay, so what I also wanted to have a look at was, the collective unconscious. We talk to it and it talks to us through our dreams, meditations, all that kind of thing. So I wanted to look at an energy sort of dream or oracular that could tell you that you are, well on path for offering the highest good in these offerings to the collective. So firstly, around this spiritual courage, stewardship energy, we get creativity. Okay, so you may do this through opening up the creativity of others. You may be particularly connected to the creativity of others. You're also seeing it as a creative act. So even if there's a sort of a practice, there's something creative within it. It's for that clarity. So I think that when you feel creative, or when you see creativity around you, or when you foster creativity in others, you're really aligning to this offering that you can give to the collective. Then in terms of the day-to-day, in helping people find their destiny, it's interesting. This came up for one other, and I think in this spot, weather, natural events. So this could be dreams about weather. It could be a connection to the seasons, and when the seasons are right for people to move forward and understand who they are. Very powerful energy in weather and natural events. So dreams or meditations or journeying that has that, this could be a very strong sign of getting clearer and clearer on your destiny, and also on helping others with their destiny. I feel like too the lighthouse, the yod pointing to the lighthouse. What is the light on the hill? And then in the sort of sacredness of your spiritual practice, when you know that you're really offering the highest good to the collective. Action. When there is a call to action, when there is a clarity that calls to action. So this may be, like just doing the action each day of a spiritual practice. It may be taking action on a cause. It may be taking action in relation to helping others with their destiny. Or it could be just that it is the simple repetitive action of all of this, like being able to do that. It's doing it, and it's doing it. It's turning up. It's turning up every day. I think there could be an energy of that. That's when you're really in alignment with this and getting the clarity that you would want. Okay, so I also want to get you a divine feminine and divine masculine energy that helps you with what you give to the collective. So a divine feminine energy for you is Bridget, healing. So there is a healing, because there's a healing from things that were wrong, a healing that took people off their path, a healing from illegitimate leadership and so forth. So there is a healing energy to what you're doing, definitely. And like you could even, it could be like Reiki, things like that. There could be healing modalities that you use. And then a divine masculine energy. Thor, action. Okay, so there's something about action. It might be a calling to some of you that whatever you do spiritually, you need to put into the action of this, and that maybe it's something to think about in the 3D world. If you've kept them kind of separate, otherwise it's like Thor is here to bring that power. And again, you feel the power of they're connecting this way. Like what the possibilities that you're bringing out, the weather, weather and Thor, thunder. There's something about the action that you do here spiritually that has a very powerful effect on that. So, but it's a healing effect as well. It's not just action for action's sake. It's not just a battle for battle's sake. It's to heal. It's to heal the energy there. So let's get you some astrology to guide your way. North Node, you are heading towards destiny. Like your destiny is this, but I think it's also like you are like the lighthouse keeper. You are the person who can guide people on a day-to-day level towards being in alignment with the possibilities of their destiny. Saturn, with the proper gravitas and the proper sort of, as I say, stewardship, with the maturity to do that and with the capacity to bring it into being. And new moon, the seeding, planting what you desire. And maybe this is part of the action. It's like both for yourself and for others, and in anything you contemplate into the collective, it's like pushing forward the sort of concept that planting your desire and heading towards the North Node helps manifest all of this in the most responsible way. Okay, so there's something very magical about that, and I wanted to finish with a card that shows the magic that you enact in your offering to the collective. Mysticism. Wow. Yeah, you're very dialed in. You're very dialed in. So, some of your spiritual practice may be in the mystical realms. This is also very much about balance, because it's represented by the Kabbalah, the tree of life, which balances, the sort of masculine, feminine action and contemplation, all of those sorts of things. So there's something in that, and there's something about destiny. What is the pure thing that you bring, and what is the pure thing that others bring to the collective? The path of the mystic, the path of one who is aligned to what they're meant to do, and helping others do that. Very powerful. So I hope that this resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading, Pile 3. If so, please like and subscribe. Do go and see Malavika's reading if you haven't already, because if you're a mystic, the collective is trying to talk to you very definitely. So it would be worth getting that sense of what that's being brought to you to help you in all of this, because it's the actions that you're taking on a spiritual level that I think bring a clarity to what you do on a day-to-day level, and helping people find their destiny and helping you find your own destiny. But you're the steward of it. You have a lot of responsibility here. So go and see what the collective wants to give to you from Malavika's reading. And beyond that, I wish you well and hope to see you in future readings.